Listen, I need you to hear what Christian Parker just said, because this might be the most electric statement we have heard from a Cowboys player in years. And before we get into it, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Because here at Blue and Silver Nation, we are on top of every single Cowboys update the moment it drops, and trust me, you are going to want to be here for everything that unfolds from this story. So, here is what went down. Christian Parker walked into the Cowboys facility for the first time as an official member of this team, and what came out of his mouth next sent shockwaves through the entire NFL media landscape. Now we all know how this usually goes, right? A player signs with Dallas and they follow the typical playbook. They talk about being grateful. They mention the legendary history of the franchise. They say all the right things that sound good, but ultimately mean nothing. It is polished and it is forgettable. Christian Parker threw that entire script in the trash. And the crazy part is, he did it within minutes of becoming a Cowboy. He stood in front of those reporters and said something that made every single person in that room stop what they were doing. He said he did not come to Dallas to admire what this franchise accomplished decades ago. He came here to transform what is happening right now. Let that sink in for a second. That one sentence tells you everything you need to know about who this man is and what he expects from himself and everyone around him. He basically said, "The past is the past, and I am focused on rewriting the present." Now, why does this matter so much? Because for years, Cowboys fans have watched this team stack talent only to come up short when the lights shine brightest. You know it. I know it. The whole football world knows it. Dallas has had rosters loaded with Pro Bowlers and playmakers that could match up with anyone in the league. The national media covers this team more than any other franchise. The expectations every single preseason are through the roof. And yet, when January rolls around, something always seems to go wrong. Parker did not call anyone out by name, but his message was crystal clear. He is not interested in being part of a team that looks good on paper, but cannot deliver when it counts. He flat out said that talent without trophies means nothing to him. Hype without hardware does not move the needle. And here is where it gets even more intense. When a reporter asked him what a successful first season would look like, he did not give some generic answer about getting acclimated or building chemistry. He said anything less than a deep playoff run would be unacceptable. Unacceptable. Think about the weight of that word. He is not hoping for a playoff appearance. He is not wishing for progress. He is demanding excellence from day one and putting that standard out there for the entire world to see. But here is what nobody is talking about. This kind of declaration does not just apply pressure to Parker himself. It ripples through the entire locker room. Every veteran on that roster heard those words. Every coach in that building heard those words. The front office heard those words. And now there is a new standard that has been publicly established. You cannot walk back a statement like that. You cannot pretend it was just off-season hype. Parker essentially drew a line in the sand and said, "This is what I expect from myself, and this is what I expect from all of us." Some people might say that is too bold for a new guy. Some might argue he should have kept his head down and let his play do the talking. But let me ask you something. Is that not exactly the kind of mentality Cowboys fans have been craving for years? Someone who refuses to accept mediocrity. Someone who is not afraid to voice what everyone in the fan base has been screaming. Parker took the frustration that has been building in Cowboys Nation and channeled it into a declaration of war against complacency. And his mindset goes even deeper than just demanding results. When asked about the pressure of playing for America's team, he gave a response that honestly gave me chills. He said pressure is a privilege. He said if you are not feeling pressure, then you probably are not chasing anything that actually matters. That is a championship mentality right there. For years, critics have questioned whether this Cowboys roster embraces the weight of expectations or crumbles underneath it. Parker just answered that question before he even puts on the pads for training camp. He wants the spotlight. He wants the scrutiny. He wants every eye on him because he believes that is where greatness is forged. And in an era where so many players are focused on building their personal brand and chasing individual statistics, Parker went in the complete opposite direction. He kept redirecting every question about his personal goals back to team success. He literally said individual numbers are empty if the team is not still playing when the stakes are highest. How often do you hear a player say that nowadays? Everyone is chasing Pro Bowl selections and contract incentives and social media highlights. Parker is talking about being relevant in late January. He is talking about playing meaningful football when most teams are already on vacation. That perspective is rare, and it is exactly what this franchise needs. Would you agree with that? Drop a comment and let me know if you think Parker is saying all the right things, or if you think he is setting himself up for criticism. Because here is the flip side of all this confidence. When you make statements this bold, you invite accountability. Every single game this season will be viewed through the lens of what Parker said. Every win will be seen as validation. Every loss will have reporters pulling up these quotes and asking if he still stands by them. That is the double-edged sword of speaking your mind in the NFL. But Parker seems completely comfortable with that reality. He actually said he would rather set the bar impossibly high and risk falling short than set it low and guarantee average results. That philosophy separates elite competitors from everyone else. The best athletes in any sport hold themselves to standards that most people would consider unrealistic. Parker just chose to let the world in on his internal expectations. And for a fan base that has heard this is the year more times than they can count, only to watch it fall apart in the playoffs, this kind of transparency hits different. Parker is not hiding behind coach speak. He is not giving empty promises. He is saying, I understand what Cowboys fans have been through, and I refuse to be another chapter in that story of disappointment. He acknowledged that being competitive is not the same thing as being dominant when everything is on the line. He talked about how preparation in the offseason has to translate into execution in elimination games. That distinction matters. Plenty of teams can rack up wins in September and October. Way fewer can sustain that energy and precision when the pressure peaks in the postseason. Parker made it clear he is obsessed with sustainability, not just flashes of brilliance. That long-term vision is what separates pretenders from true contenders. And from a locker room perspective, this kind of energy can be contagious. When a new player arrives with this level of conviction, it forces everyone else to evaluate their own commitment. Veterans who have been in that building for years now have to look in the mirror and ask themselves if they share that same hunger. Younger players see a blueprint for how to approach professionalism at the highest level. Coaches can point to Parker's words as a standard for the entire roster. Culture shifts start with moments exactly like this one. Someone has to be willing to stand up and say, we are done accepting good enough. Parker just volunteered to be that voice. But here is where things get really interesting from a strategic standpoint. These statements create pressure, sure, but they also create unity if the locker room buys in. When everyone knows the expectation is a deep playoff run, there is no ambiguity. There is no hiding behind vague goals or participation trophy mentality. The mission is clear, and everyone either gets on board or gets exposed. That kind of clarity can sharpen a team in ways that go beyond X's and O's. Practices become more intense. Film sessions become more focused. Communication becomes more direct. And when adversity inevitably hits, because it always does in an NFL season, there is a shared understanding that the standard does not change. Parker even addressed what happens when things get difficult. He said talking is easy in the offseason, but the real test comes when hostile crowds are roaring and injuries start piling up and momentum swings against you in prime time. He said that is when standards either collapse or crystallize. The fact that he is already thinking about those moments tells you he is not naive about the journey ahead. He knows the road to championship contention is brutal. He knows there will be setbacks and doubters and moments where everything feels like it is falling apart. But he believes that having unmovable standards is what separates teams that fold from teams that find a way. And honestly, that awareness might be the most impressive part of everything Parker said. He is not romanticizing this challenge. He is not pretending like willpower alone is going to carry this team to a Super Bowl. He understands that execution is the ultimate currency, and he is prepared for the grind that requires. The Cowboys have been waiting for someone to step up and vocalize what the fan base has been feeling for years. Not just the frustration, but the belief that this roster is capable of so much more. Parker did exactly that, and he did it without hesitation or hedging. He put his reputation on the line before he even takes a snap. That takes a level of confidence that you cannot fake. And looking at the bigger picture, his statements reflect a shift we are seeing across the league. Players today are more willing to control their own narratives instead of letting the media define them. They understand that staying quiet does not protect you from criticism. Only performance does that. By coming out this aggressively, Parker positioned himself as someone who is proactive rather than reactive. He is not waiting to see how the season plays out before he decides what he is about. He is telling you right now what he expects and daring the world to hold him to it. That mentality can be the spark that ignites an entire organization. Championships are not won by teams that hope for the best. They are won by teams that demand the best from every single person in the building. Parker just demanded that publicly, and now the Cowboys have no choice but to rise to that challenge. The eyes of the football world will be watching to see if these words translate into action. Every snap, every play, every moment will be analyzed through the filter of what Parker declared. And regardless of how this season ultimately unfolds, one thing is absolutely certain. Christian Parker did not come to Dallas quietly. He did not blend into the background like so many off-season acquisitions do. He walked into one of the most intense spotlights in professional sports and announced to everyone watching that the status quo is not acceptable. He announced that expectations are not just something to acknowledge, but something to exceed. He announced that this Cowboys team has championship aspirations, and he plans to be at the center of making that happen. For a fan base that has been waiting for someone to match their passion with action, Parker's words landed like a thunderbolt. Now the work begins. Training camp will reveal how that energy translates to the practice field. Preseason games will give us early glimpses of how this roster is gelling. And when the regular season kicks off, every single one of us will be watching to see if Christian Parker backs up everything he said. I believe he will. I believe this is the kind of mentality shift that can push a talented roster over the edge into true contention. But I want to hear what you think. Is Parker exactly what this team needs, or did he put a target on his back by talking this big before proving anything? Drop your thoughts in the comments and let us get a real conversation going. If you are not already subscribed to Blue and Silver Nation, now is the time, because we are going to be covering every twist and turn of this season as it unfolds. This is going to be a year that Cowboys fans remember, and I want you right here with us for all of it. Until next time, stay locked in and keep believing in this team, because something special might finally be brewing in Dallas.